You know I've traveled near and far, see the shining sea. I've seen a lot of places and people that were nice to me. One place that's in my heart, and this is how I feel. I'm talking about my hometown, Fayetteville. She's nestled in the sand hills on a river called Fayetteville. Special to so many who proudly served our country here. She was named for Lafayette and known for cotton mills. I'm talking about my hometown, Fayetteville. My hometown, Fayetteville. I'm so proud to be from here. It don't take long when you're away from home to find out how you feel. It's always good to come home to Fayetteville. Babe Ruth hit his first one, heard around the world. Sherman marched with the Union and burned the arsenal. Old Market House still standing, but stands for freedom's will. I'm talking about my hometown, Fayetteville. My hometown, Fayetteville. I'm so proud to be from here. It don't take long when you're away from home to find out how you feel. It's always good to come home to Fayetteville. My all-American city, Fayetteville. Talking about my hometown, Fayetteville.
Well, good evening. I'd like to welcome you to the Monday, March 25th, 2019 Fayetteville City Council meeting. At this time, we would ask that Father Alexander Papagikos would come forward, render us a prayer. And Father, I understand that you're one of our colleagues' pastors, so I'll ask you about that after you go to the Lord.
Yeah, go to the Lord first.
Well, since I've known Mrs. Jensen for 10 years, I will be brutally honest with you. How's that sound? May we bow our heads in prayer, Heavenly Father, this evening as we gather in your name. In our city council chambers as a community of believers, we give thanks for the many blessings you have so graciously and generously bestowed upon us, as well as the many freedoms and opportunities that bring us together as a city. May we ask for wisdom, compassion, and discernment of justice as we address the unique challenges of our time. We are blessed to live in a city and a nation that counts freedom of conscious and free exercise of religion among its most fundamental principles. Let us therefore remember in our prayers all those who work tirelessly and selflessly to bring honor and recognition to our city. May we always remember our soldiers, their families at Fort Bragg who leave home to protect us and our nation, and the countless sacrifices they and their loved ones give to make us safe. Finally, may we remember the unsung heroes who build up our city, who raise their families, help their neighbors, care for the needy, and do unto others as they would have them do unto themselves. May we all endeavor to keep our city just, peaceful, free, and respectful of the dignity of every human being. These we ask in your name. Amen.
And if we could turn for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So, Father, if you would tell us a little bit about yourself, your ministry, and any of your parishioners that you may know here tonight.
Well, Your Honor, most of you I know, and I want to thank all. I feel so bad standing with my back to everyone behind me. I feel kind of awkward. I apologize to all of you behind me. In the 10 years I've been here, 10 years this July, I've gotten to know most of you 3 times a year at our church. We're a church, but we're best remembered in Fayetteville for our festival, our spaghetti dinner, our world-renowned spaghetti dinner, and Athenian night in February. And other than that, I wish I could see some of you on Sunday morning. You're always welcome to come and be with us, not just on those special occasions. Today is very special because our Archbishop in the United States in New York went to the White House this past Thursday, and our president signed a proclamation declaring and recognizing this evening, March 25th, as Greek Independence Day. The colors of the Greek flag are blue and white. I see Mrs. Jensen is wearing blue, and she has a white tag on, so that is sufficient for the white part. However, I've gotten to know the city, and I've gotten to respect what all of you do. And I'm not just saying that, because after 35 years in the ministry this summer, I'm always careful how I give my compliments, and I always acknowledge those who deserve thanks. It's not easy. When you sit in front of a group of people and they watch and listen to everything you say, it's never easy. But we all stand up and do the best we can. And I thank you for this opportunity. God bless you, and keep the good Lord always have you in my prayers, and please keep me and our community in your prayers as well. We are very proud to be the Greek Orthodox community of Fayetteville, and having Mrs. Jensen here is even more of a blessing.
Hey, Father, I'm wearing blue and white also.
Welcome to the Greek community.
I'm just a good old Presbyterian. It's my chance that
Well, this is your chance, but what's interesting, you all had, I understand, Greek food for dinner this evening in honor of Greek Independence Day. So how was it?
Good. Real good.
Good. Who catered it? You notice I asked the question first how good it was, and when you said good, then I asked you who prepared it.
Euro City.
Euro City. Well, there you go. Thank you again, Your Honor, for the opportunity to be here. And all of you, never be strangers to our community. We always welcome all of you. Have a blessed evening.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. All right. Ms. Jensen, we have someone special joining us this evening. Would you tell us about her?
Yes, we do. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to introduce Satya Munagati. Satya Muntagati from Terry Sanford High School, and you are a junior?
A senior?
A senior this year. So she's going to tell us all what's going on with the Fayetteville Cumberland Youth Council. Welcome.
Hi, everyone. My name is Satya Munagati. I am from Terry Sanford High School, and I am a 3-year member of the Fayetteville Cumberland Youth Council. And I would like to first start off by saying I'm only able to sit here because of all of you, and the opportunities you guys have given us. So I'd like to start off by saying we're just wrapping up our Women's Hygiene Purse Drive that our Military Appreciation Committee started to help female veterans. So we are just finished up collecting hygiene items and packing them in gently used purses for female veterans. And what we're working on right now is our anti-litter committee is planning a citywide teen cleanup competition to help clean up the litter in our city, as well as promote the anti-litter cause. And that's from April 8th to April 14th. And as a graduating senior, I'd like to thank you all for giving me this opportunity, as well as the council this opportunity. I can't express my gratitude enough, so thank you so much.
Thank you, and welcome tonight. We'd also like to add a few other points of interest. 2019 Cumberland County Expungement Clinic. 3 clinics have been held in this, or will be held in the city. The third and final session will be this weekend on Saturday, March the 30th at Lewis Chapel Missionary Baptist Church. This clinic is targeted for people with minor criminal histories from Cumberland County, which may qualify to have convictions removed from their record at the upcoming expungement clinics. Participants must sign up at the informal session and then qualify. This is a great initiative that Commissioner Charles Evans from the Cumberland County Commission, as well as the District Attorney and myself and Representative Elmer Floyd have really pushed this to the community to give a second chance to some of our citizens here who are impeded from the ability to find employment, housing, or even education or school admittance. And so we think it's a great program, and we ask that you would share this information with anyone you know may be interested in attending. Also, we have the City of Fayetteville invites the public to upcoming future land use meetings to discuss future land use plans in this community, and this is vital for public input, which could possibly impact the City Council's decision in this comprehensive land use plan. And so we hear all the time that people want things zoned and would like to know what's going on, what's coming in and around their communities and their neighborhoods. So this is an excellent time for you to have your input. So for more information, April 3rd, there will be a meeting at 6 p.m. at the Lake Rim Recreational Center, 1455 Hope Loop Road. That is District 6, Councilman Bill Chris, and also District 8, Councilmember Ted Maul. And then April the 4th at Myers Recreation Center. That's located at 1015 Rochester Drive. That is District 2, Councilmember Dan Cullerton, and District 5, Councilmember Johnny Dawkins. And so I ask that you please, if you're available, to come out, give some input. The City Council needs your input. This is a partnership. The city cannot make all decisions without you, and we certainly want your input. And at this time, I'll ask that my colleague, Councilmember Larry Wright, will join me at the podium. Ask that the representative from the Veterans Council would also meet us at the podium for a special presentation.
As the mayor and Councilmember Wright approach, a little bit about the Veterans Council. You know, they sponsor the Veterans Day Parade. Well, homeless veterans passes away, they will manage some of the expenses, help out the families. They provide counseling to family members. The Veterans Council is a centralized point of contact for all veteran organizations in Cumberland County, which consists of about 40 different organizations. So what we have tonight here is a certificate of excellence presented to the Veterans Council. It reads, "We honor your values and courage, sacrifice, integrity, and commitment to our great city of histories, heroes, and hometown feeling." Signed, Mayor Mitch Colvin and Larry Wright.
We would love for
In addition, I would like to give you, Mayor, a copy of our mission statement so you know what we're about.
Absolutely.
And what that pride stands for.
Professionalism, respect, integrity, dedication, and excellence.
Thanks to Mayor Colvin and City Manager Hewitt and Councilman Wright. It's a pleasure to come tonight and be invited and receive this certificate of excellence. Our council works hard. Our members work hard. And let me introduce myself first. I'm Penny Kakalitis, and I am the president of the Cumberland County Veterans Council. I am a U.S. Marine. So I wear a couple of hats, and I can't wear them all. Like I said, our missions together consolidate, promote, aims, interests, and efforts of the military veterans and veterans service, and support organizations that are members of the council and are located within Cumberland County and our surrounding areas in North Carolina. We stand with pride, and what is that? As the mayor said, pride is respect, integrity, dedication, and excellence to serve all veterans. A little bit about what we do. Since the first of the year, we've brought in 3 new organizations into the council. We've reached out to our parent organizations who have auxiliaries who are also chartered. So we're getting them in. We want to get as many veterans organizations as possible into the council so that we can better support you in this community and our veterans. They're so important to us. It's a team. We have to reach out to support and be there for all these veterans in needs. This past week, I was in Tucson, and I had the opportunity to be in a meeting with the VFW National Commander, B.J. Lawrence, and he had given us some information on demographics. So I have a little demographics about Cumberland County and where you stand with veterans. It's a good website. It gives you all of North Carolina. It gives you all the states in the United States, and you can go and search every county within that state. It's veteransdata.info. It's a wonderful site. We fall in the red zone, which means we have 8 to 10% veterans in this county. And we have over 56,000 veterans. As of the data they entered last, they only had 34,691 male veterans. And we female veterans numbered 8,267. So we have a lot of military and their families. And that's of all ages. The demographics even breaks it down to by age how many you have in this county. So it's an important site. I want to work this year on doing what the president signed into act on March 5th, the Prevents program. It's important that we stop the senseless 22 deaths a day among our veterans. And that's what this is all about. We have to reach out, we have to teach, and let our family members know that we're here and how to recognize the symptoms. And this was very well brought out at our last meeting, where it just seemed the meeting flowed. The 3 guest speakers all spoke about suicide and how to prevent it. And that was just an awesome event. But in closing, I just want to say that it's your veterans who paid the price for the freedoms we have and their families. And we want to thank them, and we want to thank the city of Fayetteville for all they do to help us recognize those veterans. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And at this time, could all the members of the Veterans Council please stand so they can be recognized this evening? So let's give them a round of applause. Thank you all for your service and what you do for our community. All right, Council, we'll go to Councilmember Art.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just want to remind everybody that the Fans First Look will be coming up on Saturday, April the 13th. The ribbon cutting of the new stadium will happen at 12 o'clock, and the stadium will be open from 12 to 3 p.m. that day. So we want to invite the owners of the stadium to come out and have the first look at it. Walk through the stadium, see some things that you won't be able to see once it's in operation, but you'll be able to go into the batting cages and different parts of the stadium and get a really good first look at it. It's free to the public. Parking will be free that day. It'll be a great event to kind of come down and get oriented, find out where your seats are for opening night, which is 24 days away. So thank you. We look forward to seeing you on Saturday, April the 13th, 12 o'clock.
Thank you, Councilmember Art. All right, council, it's time to get down to business. Item 5.0 is the approval of the agenda. We look for a motion.
Motion to approve?
Second.
So we have a motion by Councilmember, Mayor Pro Tem Moan, a second by Councilmember Wright. Any discussion on the motion? All right, council, I look to you for your votes. Madam Clerk, that is unanimous. All right, motion carries. Item 6.0 is the consent agenda. Council, I look to you for action.
Mr. Mayor, if you approve, I'd like to approve the consent agenda with the exception of item 6.03 and have 6.03, table it, have it come back to potential future work session.
Second.
Okay, I already had a couple of lights for seconds, so that would be the way that I can recognize you most easily. So right now we have the Moan and Councilmember Hare, was that a second?
Second, sir.
All right, so we have the Moan Hare motion to approve with the exception of item 6.03. Is that a discussion on the motion? That's a vote, okay. All right, any discussion on the motion? All right, council, I look to you for your votes. All right, Madam Clerk, that is also unanimous. Motion carries. Item 7.0, public hearing. Individuals desiring to speak at the public hearing must have signed up to speak with the city clerk by name and address before 7 p.m. this evening. 15 minutes will be allowed for each side of the issue at the public hearing. Individual speakers will be limited to 3 minutes each unless by previous arrangement a single spokesperson is designated, in which case the spokesperson may use the entire 15 minutes. When the city clerk calls your name, please come to the podium. Clearly state your name and address for the record. You may then address the city council. When the light changes from green to amber, you mean you have 30 seconds remaining to speak. At the end of your allotted time, the timer will ring. Mr. Harmon, take it away.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The first case we have before you tonight, or the only one, is a special use permit request. So we do need to get all of the speakers who are signed up to come to our clerk to get sworn in.
Mayor, we only have one speaker this evening, Mr. Mario Garner. Okay. Could raise your right hand, sir. Okay. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth to help you God? Yes. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The first case we have.
You go to your seat, Mr. Garner.
Yeah, take your seat. They'll open the public hearing in a few minutes and you'll be called up here to speak. The only case we have tonight is a special use permit request to allow outdoor storage and display in a community commercial zoning district. Property is located at 929 Bragg Boulevard. This is in District 2, and both staff and zoning commission have recommended approval. Just to give you a little idea of where the property is located, Bragg Boulevard, Ames Street, right over here is the statue of Martin Luther King and the park associated with that. So that should give you just a little bit of an idea of where we're talking. And you'll see in a moment, currently there are already storage sheds for sale on this property. Code enforcement cited the owners here for violation of our code for having outdoor display without their special use permit, and then the owners came in to try to rectify that and get their permit. Currently, they're only on display here along this property line and some down this property line to about right here. So kind of this little L-shaped area, and you'll see them in some photographs here in a moment. Currently, zoning out there again is heavy commercial or community commercial district. That's also what our land use plan calls for as well. They have agreed, or the zoning commission and staff both put forth a requirement for them to keep if they are allowed to keep the storage units out there and get their special use permit, that they would only be allowed in this area shown in red, so that one is away from the visually away from Bragg Boulevard as far as it can be here, and limiting where that would be on the property as well. Here are a couple photos. The top two are from Bragg Boulevard, and you can see the buildings where they're displayed currently. The second is the main building. This is also a used car lot. That's the main function of the property. There is also an auto repair garage in the back of the property as well. You probably noticed in the photograph, in the aerial photo and the other maps, that this is kind of a deep lot, so there toward the back there's some storage area and an auto repair center. Just some of the areas surrounding this property. The Carpet One, kind of to the south, Brantley Electronics, and then some buildings across the road. Most of them appear not to have anything in them at the moment. The Zoning Commission and staff had a couple of recommended conditions, and that was to apply with that attached site plan so that they were limited in where these storage sheds would be located, and construct and maintain a Type D buffer on the property where it abuts a residential zoning district. And mainly there where the storage sheds would be, because that is the new use. That was the suggestion of the Zoning Commission. Staff and Zoning Commission do recommend approval. That's based on we feel that the SUP implements policies of the UDO. The uses permitted by the special use would be appropriate in a community commercial district, which is our heaviest commercial activity district. The proposed SUP ensures that new development, the new part of the development would be compatible with the 2010 land use plan and Bragg Boulevard land use plans. And we didn't see any other factors which substantially affected the public health, safety, or general welfare. And then just as a reminder, it is a quasi-judicial hearing, and you will have to do the findings of fact along with that. If you would hold your questions for staff till after the public hearing. Mr. Mayor, I will leave it to you to open the public hearing at this point.
Got you. Thank you, sir. All right, at this time, we will open the public hearing. Madam Clerk, you can call your first speaker.
Now we have one speaker this evening, Mr. Mario Garner.
Welcome, sir.
How you doing?
Welcome, sir.
Thank you.
Please state your name and your address for us.
My name is Mario Garner, and my address is 929 Bragg Boulevard, Fayetteville, North Carolina, 28301.
Thank you.
Okay, so it's first time here. So I started with the owners of Freedom Motors in their front yard, and we grew and we moved to Ramsey, and then we outgrew there, and we were led to Bragg Boulevard. And while we were there, we're still there, but Old Heritage, which makes the sheds, they came to us and asked if we wanted to advertise sheds on the premises. And at the time, we thought it was a good idea to draw traffic, so we agreed to it. And at the time, we didn't know that we needed a special use permit to sell the sheds. So a young lady came by that worked for the city of Fayetteville, and she told us that we needed a permit. And the very day that she came down, we went and we applied for the permit, paid the monies, and I got a call today stating that I needed to be here tonight to speak on behalf of Freedom Motors of Fayetteville. And that is the reason I'm here today, well, this evening.
Gotcha, sir. All right. So, thank you, sir. So, Council, Madam Clerk, that was your only speaker, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I'll close the public hearing and then we'll.
I had some question for this gentleman.
Yeah, hold on one second. Okay, so we have no further speakers, so at this time, we'll close the public hearing. Mr. Attorney?
Mayor, this is a special use permit, so we do need the public hearing to remain open so that the responses to the questions are also a part of the hearing.
Gotcha. So I guess we'll reopen it. All right. So we do have a couple questions. We have Councilmember Culleton, Hare, and then Dawkins.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for coming and giving us background information on this. Is the intent to use that property solely for the sale of the storage sheds?
No, sir, we also sell used cars.
So right now on that lot, there's quite a few variety of vehicles, SUVs, boats, a dumpster, that type of thing.
No boats.
No boats? Not this week. So will those remain there and the sheds are going to go around that? Can you explain like what your intention is with the property?
So the sheds will only remain where they are right now. We only agreed to a few of them. So what happens is whenever someone buys a shed, that space becomes open and then they place another one there. We don't go over, I think it's 18 sheds. So we try to stay within that number just to make sure that it's not, it doesn't look bad and the sheds just don't start piling up all over the place.
Do you have any other things that you're doing with the buffer of that property? Right now, there's a chain link fence around those back portions with the barbed wire. Do you have any intentions of changing that when you
No,
start
sir.
selling stuff? Okay,
No,
thank
sir.
you. That's all I have. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Culleton. Councilmember Hare.
Yes, Mr. Harmon. And I drove by the property today. It's pretty secure around the back. Mr. Harmon, you stated residential buffer was a part of the conditions or something. And explain exactly where the residential part abuts, because it seems like it's so far back. Is that, because I went by the property today. Explain where that is.
What the zoning commission and staff had looked at, if you look at your monitor, was just the buffer along here where they're actually putting in the sheds. All of this around here actually abuts residential property. Your speaker here is the owner of the business. He is not the owner of the property. So keep that in mind. There are two different entities there. And there are, I believe he has his car business and the sheds that they're selling. And then here in the back, there's also a separate business that's an auto repair business. And I believe they're the ones that keep most of the cars and stuff that are kind of here in the back portion of the lot.
All right. Thank you, sir. Thanks, Mayor.
Sir, Councilman Dawkins.
Thank you, Mr. Harmon. I had a question also, one for this gentleman. Now, it's car business and it's a shed business, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and Mr. Harmon, there appears to be a cutout in the lot, and there's multiple. There's Peter and Craig, both, I think they have a sister, so maybe, explain what's going on there.
It just happens to be that there's, at some point, I don't know why, that lot was created and they've never combined it back to everything. It's all of this is still owned by the same entity. It just happens that this actually is a separate lot right there. So it's kind of got a missing tooth.
And, sir, but it appears you've got your product on that lot too, which is absolutely fine. All right, thank you. Very good. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir. Councilman Art.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Harmon?
Yes, sir.
So my question is, we're going through a lot of efforts to try to revitalize Bragg Boulevard and that stretch of Bragg Boulevard down into the Veterans Park, into downtown. How does this fit in with our land use plans?
Our current land use plans it fits into. Now, these future plans that we're working on right now, it may not work quite as well. I think yeah, it may not work quite as well in the future.
Yeah, I think I've got a concern that, you know, we've got a lot of these storage shed buildings. We've got a lot of mobile home places. We've got a lot of these things. I don't know that I personally think it's a good idea to let them migrate back into downtown. I mean, we're trying to clean up the things down here right now by the Rowan Street Bridge being redeveloped to include the gas station that's down there and other entities. I'm just concerned as we issue a special use permit, are we setting a precedent for other things like this to come into this corridor?
Well, anything like that is still going to have to come through you for a special use permit, so it would be on a case-by-case basis.
But you've set a precedent because you've approved one, right?
You have. But also remember, it is a special use permit, so you can, council can put condition, unlike a conditional zoning where the owner has to offer, council can actually condition, put conditions on this particular
So
case.
would it be appropriate, since we don't have a plan yet for this area, would it be appropriate for us to consider maybe a condition of time, say 5 years, that in 5 years, based off of what plans are decided for that area, that another special use permit may be required?
That is something that you definitely could consider. We've also, staff has spoke to the business owner about that. He doesn't seem to have any heartburn about a condition like that. That type of condition is typically, even with any special use permit, they expire after a year if nothing's done. And so, but it also has a caveat in the requirements that city council can put another stipulation of time. So that is something you can do.
I just would suggest that we consider a condition in this as we look at it, because, I mean, just across the street is where the MLK Park is going to be located, and we're talking about doing revitalization of that. And, you know, I think just like we talk about our residential neighborhoods, we want to keep things in good standing and fitting the theme of what we're trying to do. So I think in this case, a conditional, as far as time, may be appropriate, Mr. Mayor, Council. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So I did have a question for you, sir, before I go to Councilmember Wright. What percentage of your business model depends on the sale of these homes or these buildings?
Perhaps about 10.
Okay, so it's not a significant part of what you do. You're primarily in the automobile sales.
Yes, sir. And it's nothing that we're going to have the rest of Freedom Motors' life. So I'm not looking to sell these things 10 and 15 years.
It's just an added source of income for the time being.
As for the time being, we're a young business. We just started maybe about 3 years ago. So it was an avenue to generate a little more income. Right. And I do believe that in the time to come, we intend to stay on Bragg Boulevard because it's a beautiful, you know, I'm not from here, I'm from South Carolina. I was also led here to North Carolina. And I enjoy working on Bragg Boulevard. You meet a lot of people, you know, you get to witness, you know what I mean? So I do intend to stay on Bragg, but I believe that we're gonna build one day and we won't rent from Peter Stewart the rest of Freedom Motors' life. So somewhere on Bragg I will remain, but Old Heritage won't go with me.
I got you. All right.
All right.
Well, thank you. Appreciate that. Welcome to the community. All right, Councilmember Wright.
Yes, sir. Would you come back? Let's make a statement. And I just want to, in the conditions, and number 2, it's a special use of compatible or with the characters of surrounding land and the use permitted in zoning district of the surrounding lands. And one of my questions was pertaining to what the mayor was saying, but do you understand what a type D buffer is?
No, sir, I don't.
And that wouldn't even be pointed to him, it would be pointed to the landowner. Is that true?
Yes, I mean,
And so
ultimately
the
it would
type
be-
D buffer could you explain that so the audience could understand what that will look like? Because that is not in place right now.
Correct. There is some vegetation there. I don't know exactly how much, and any existing is counted toward the Type D. But a Type D buffer, there's two types. In this case, most likely it would be a 6-foot solid fence with a 10-foot area of vegetation in front of it.
Yes. Okay, thank you. See, so when we talk about, yes, the proposed site plan demonstrates how this property meets the requirement of the UDO, is a young businessman, entrepreneur coming into the city. We support small businesses. And I was concerned as well as how that would look on the Bragg Boulevard corridor, being that we're trying to develop the city and create an image that, is conducive. And so by you saying, and I'm understanding just that L shape there on the backside off of Bragg Boulevard, and that you're not looking to house these units for long periods of time. Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Councilmember Jensen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If I am very in favor of us doing the 5-year term limit that Councilmember Arp was talking about, because I think that it's 10% of your business, and of course you want it to grow, but instead of saying yes or no, I think that we have the 5 years, the Bragg Boulevard the corridor will be moving at that point. And if it is a good source of income for you, then we can come back and relook it and see how we're going to design it. But I'm in favor, I would.
Or some specific period.
A specific time period I'm in favor of.
Okay. All right. Councilman Crisp.
Mr. Harmon, I'm looking at the diagram. The back portion of that lot, all that used to be, I think, Royal Dodge, didn't it? Years ago? Yeah. But, no, go back to the one you had on there. I want to ask a question about it. Okay, the back portion there, the portion closest to Rowan Street. Okay, the special use permit is to allow him to have and sell storage sheds, right?
Correct.
Well, why are we doing such a big part of this when he said the most he's going to have is 18 sheds at any one time?
Well, no, he has agreed that only this area in red is where the storage sheds would be. It's just that the property
is already zoned. That's the whole.
That is the whole property, but he's only looking to use this area where he already has a storage shed set up.
But if we approve it as it is written now, and with the findings of fact, he could put storage sheds in that back lot as well.
No, the way it's written is that he would be limited to this area.
Okay. All right, my question to everyone is, I don't see a great difference in selling you cars there and storage shed. I mean, they've been selling cars there since the 60s. Okay, and so I don't get it. And yes, it's across from Blue Street and the revitalization and all, but they're going to be able to continue with the commercial business there into perpetuity. Because unless we rezone it from community commercial, they're still going to sell cars. What's the great difference in cars and storage shed? Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councilmember Waddell.
Thank you, Mayor Colvin. Mr. Harmon, can you provide some background as to why a special use permit is required for this type of request?
That's just what the ordinance requires.
Why does the ordinance require it in this particular case?
Well, for outdoor storage and sales.
Outdoor storage sheds.
That's why.
So, I applaud entrepreneurship. I applaud business. My concern, I share a similar concern in terms of the direction that the corridor is going. I appreciate the fact you want to be there and you want to stay there. I think it speaks volumes to the fact that the work is going into making that a really profitable area for people to do business. I think one of the ways that we balance the needs of the citizens, of the community, and the business community is by making sure that while anybody on that corridor is doing business, they're not making it look like a hot mess. which I'm not accusing you of. Please don't think that.
I understand.
But I think that that's part of the reason, if I were to make an educated guess as to why this has a special use requirement, I think that it's so that as Councilmember Arp said, we're not inundated with these outdoor storage units along these corridors and any other areas for that matter. How many do you have on site right now?
I believe there's about 16 now.
So what I'm hearing,
Between 16 and 18.
okay, and you correct me if I'm wrong, but what it sounded like to me was it made a decision to sell these units for whatever reason. You have these units, and what I thought I was hearing you say is, once these are done, I'm not dealing with this anymore. That's what I thought I heard you saying.
I don't intend to have them for 5 years.
Okay.
Now, if the 18 sell tomorrow, then I would probably get some
Absolutely,
more. Yeah.
absolutely. What I also think I heard you say was we started out in one location, we outgrew that location, we went to another location. And so I heard some genesis of there was some profitability in this for you.
Sure. Lord has been faithful to me. So.
Okay, so with that in mind, I think that the question that we have to ask ourselves is, when the move was made because of the growth and because there's potential for growth again, possibly, how does that look long-term for this area? Even if we enter into an agreement where we say, okay, for 5 years. And again, I applaud the fact that you want to stay there, but is this something that may be better served in a different area, or is this the right area for it according to the direction that we are trying to take the corridors? And that would be the only question that I have. Again, continue doing business. We appreciate it. And those are my questions and comments.
So, Council, I think everyone's kind of had an opportunity to digest this. I'll just say this before I call for a question and close the public hearing. I know that this is an area that we are trying to encourage businesses and entrepreneurship, so I do commend you. I think a 5-year horizon, being that he said he did not foresee his business model, including this 5 years from now, is a long time. There can be a lot of change in a 5-year period, so maybe if the council will consider granting some authority but a shorter window, simply because we have so many factors that we don't know. We don't know the impacts of what our revitalization efforts will be. The bridge is not fully completed, and we don't know the demand that'll be placed on there in some of the other areas. So if that may be something that you consider, entertain a motion to
I had another
submit
question.
that. Oh, you did? Okay, hit your red light for me, Dan. I got your green. All right. I have Councilmember Wright, and then I'll come to you.
So, Mr. Mayor, the proposal is somewhere between 3 to 5 years. And my question would be, if that would be the case, that we limit this time, would he have to come back to council after that time if his business is working well and things are going well, and based upon the direction the council and the city is going at that time for reapproval?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, Councilman Cullerton.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As a business owner, I can understand where you're coming from. I'm a little confused why the property owners aren't here, since they're the ones technically requesting a special use permit. So, Mr. Harmer, if you can come back up. As you stated, once we make the special use permit, if the council decides to do so under whatever terms, this allows this gentleman to operate the business he wishes to do, but it changes the use of that property for the owners who are not here. The entire property, not just this L section he intends to use for his sheds. There was a buffer issue here that was also included in this, and he had said that he didn't intend to do the buffer. Is the owners going to do that buffer?
So let me just back up with the buffer. So the zoning commission and staff had only recommended the buffer in this area where the new construction, and it's not really new construction, it's just buildings being put on there, on the lot. But since that was the area, the new area impacting, because there are a couple of residential lots here, and they are zoned residential, that this would be the area where that buffer would go. And yes, you are correct that the owners ultimately would have the responsibility for that.
Can you go back to the picture before this where it zooms out and you can see? So we're looking at a very deep lot here that
Correct.
isn't just that section with those two houses, but there's many houses that this whole lot impacts. And my concern is my constituents of this district in this particular area has had complaints about this before as they go down Ames Street. This is an unattractive lot in general. It has a chain link fence, barbed wire. It's not very well kept in terms of lawn maintenance and that. And my concern is allowing something like this to further detract and now into the corridor as we're all talking about. Could a condition be that they extend that buffer around the sides and back?
I mean, that's something that city council could look to do. That is, there would be a lot of buffering, just to put in a couple of storage units,
Yeah.
storage buildings. I mean, we had maybe 2 or 3 people that called in. As you can see, the yellow line going around this property, that's where all the owners were notified, plus the signage on the property and the notices in the paper. And we only had 2 or 3 people that actually called in with any concerns. And once they were told, you know, if you notice the storage sheds out there, that's what they're trying to do, they were like, oh yeah, I'm not coming to a meeting for that. And as you can see tonight, they're not here, and there were none at the zoning commission meeting either.
Okay. So as it stands then, it would just be the buffer around that L where the
Just
storage
the-
units are going
just
and
the
that would be
L
a
area.
demo.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Councilmember Dawkins.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Harmon, I'm sorry to get you back up. Okay, if there's no storage sheds there, say in 3 years, then there's gonna be no need for them to come back for a special use permit because one's not gonna be required, and they're gonna be selling cars there. So I'm with Councilman Chris. They're gonna be selling cars there for probably another 20 or 30 years. It's gonna take 30 or 40 years to redevelop that whole corridor. I don't see everybody lined up wanting to build new buildings. I see a lot of buildings that are vacant on that road. I'm just thankful that there's somebody willing to get out there and sell cars, and I'm going to support if it's 3 years or 5 years, or he can sell those sheds as long as he wants, the way I look at it. Because if that area really changes, because, you know, right across the street, there's 2 businesses that we prefer our children not to go into. In fact, they're not allowed by law in those businesses, and maybe we'll see those turn into something else. All right, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
All right, Councilman Harp.
Well, Mr. Dawkins, I'll take a different line of attack on that. I don't choose to plan based on hope. I choose to plan, and you can see with the planning that we've done downtown, the significant changes that have occurred. And you're right, those businesses across the street, I look forward to the day that those businesses go the way the businesses of Hay Street went. But I think it's foolish to say they're going to be selling cars there 20 years from now, because if we'd have taken that argument, we'd still all have all that garbage down there along Bragg Boulevard where it runs into Hay Street. We got to have a plan. We got to have a vision. And without that, we're never going to change the image of this city and downtown. And with the significant investment that we're making downtown, we need to push forward with overlays for that part of Bragg Boulevard that tie into the MLK Park and the things we're trying to do there, that tie into Catalyst Site 1, that tie into what we're doing down here with the baseball stadium and the expansion of Veterans Park. And I got to tell you, I don't see that vision. Now listen, I come from a car family, okay? I come from a family of car salesmen and car sales managers. But I don't think you want us to put a car lot in front of Van Story Hills, and I don't think you would want us to put a bunch of storage sheds, yard sheds out in front of Van Story Hills. There's a place for these things, and I don't think it's in our developing downtown to push these kind of businesses. So we got to have a plan, and that's what I'm asking for, and that's why I said we need to have a condition. I'm not trying to shut the man's business down, but I don't think it should be there for perpetuity. Thank you.
All right, Mayor Pro Tem.
Question for Mr. Harmon, and I appreciate council's input. We have a delineated downtown district that pays 10 cents extra on the ad valorem tax. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Yeah.
And we are in the process of a citywide potential land use plan that potentially could be adopted down the road. That's correct?
Yes.
And we historically look at these type operations along these type roads, major thoroughfares versus two-lane roads cutting through neighborhoods. I remember this is quasi-judicial, so we're not supposed to state opinions, we're supposed to ask questions. Is this being offset probably 40 feet from the road, is that consistent with the surrounding area currently? But based on the agenda packet, it was consistent with the surrounding uses.
We felt that they were.
That was staff's
Yes.
opinion and the zoning board's opinion? Okay.
I mean, if you look, there's,
Bentley's.
heavy commercial right here, just as deep as that particular area. And this part is really hard to see from Bragg Boulevard.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I've been there several times. Okay, I appreciate your answer, sir.
All right, council, I think everyone has red and green lights on, and there've been a couple of rounds on this issue. So at this time, we will close the public hearing. I'll go to Councilman Culleton.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. At this time, with regards to item 7.01, 18-701, P19-05F, the issuance of a special use permit to allow outdoor storage and display in a community commercial zoning district on a property located at 929 Bragg Boulevard, near the intersection of Bragg Boulevard and Blue Street, and beginning the property Peter B. and John P. Stewart. I would make the motion that we accept and move forward with a special use permit as stated by staff with the conditions of the buffered zone D be constructed in the area outlined, as well as a 3-year time limit for the special use permit, in which if anything changes during that course, the special use permit is null and void.
Did he need to state the other language regarding the? Okay, she said no. All right. All right, so I have a motion by Councilmember Culleton. There's a second by Councilmember Wright. Yeah, can you amend that, sir?
Yes, I'll amend that motion. So I move to approve the special use permit to allow outdoor signage, display and storage in the portion of the subject property that is depicted on the attached site map as permitted by staff based on the standards of the city's development code and the evidence presented during this hearing. And the application is consistent with applicable plans because, 1, the development is located in a community commercial district, and 2, that this use complies with the findings listed below, and 3, the proposed permit in the public interest because the proposed special use permit does fit within the character of this area. Do I need to read the Essex? For motion to be approved, these findings are found to be true. The special use will comply with all applicable standards in section 30-4C, use-specific standards. The special use is compatible with the character of the surrounding lands, and the use is permitted in the zoning districts of surrounding lands. The special use avoids significant adverse impact on surrounding lands regarding service delivery, parking, loading, odors, noise, glare, and vibration. Special use is configured to minimize adverse effects, including visual impacts of the proposed use on adjacent lands. The special use avoids significant deterioration of water and air resources, wildlife habitat, scenic resources, and other natural resources. The special use maintains safe ingress and egress onto the site and safe road conditions around the site. The special use for the protection of the property values and the ability of neighboring lands to develop the uses permitted in the zoning district. The special use, finally, complies with all other relevant city, state, and federal laws and regulations. And the condition of the 3-year term of the special use being granted.
Quite a mouthful, sir. So that was an amended motion for all of what he just said. Councilmember Wright, do you accept this?
I'll accept that amendment.
It's a second. All right. So, council. Council, I look to you for your votes. Yeah, well, we have a motion and a second, so we will open it for discussion. So let me reset lights, so you'll have to do it again. Any discussion on the Culleton Wright motion?
I support it, sir.
All right, well, I look to you for your votes. All right, Madam Clerk, that is unanimous. Motion carries. Good luck to you, sir. We hope that you expand that entire corridor, okay? All right.
To adjourn, Mayor.
So, council, we have a motion to adjourn.
Yes, sir.